Good morning. Welcome to Conversations with Kim. I have with me today Anna Blount, who is here with Team Up Mentoring. So, welcome, Anna. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, Team Up Mentoring, tell us how, I guess, decide what order, how you started this and why and what you do.
Sure. So Team Up started when I um, was just graduating from undergrad in college. I went to UGA, go dogs.
Go dogs.
And while I was a student at UGA, I had really wanted to pursue veterinary medicine. That had always been my dream
Mm,
as a kid, that I would be an animal doctor. And so I was pursuing that in undergrad, but also doing some volunteer work in the community through a church that I was a part of at the time, and started meeting some really amazing kids that were coming to programs and getting to know them. I ended up having a young person come and live with me short term because um, she had some significant things happen with her family and needed a place to go, and called me on a weekend. And so I took her in, and of course, we called DFACS and let them know, and tried to get in touch with family and figure out what she needed and how best to help the family. And that had been my first experience in walking with a family involved in the system,
okay.
and trying to figure out how to help a family in crisis like hers. It really changed the trajectory of my life. That experience, because um, she was such a bright kid, very smart. She had created the cover for her school's yearbook that year as a middle schooler. Just had so many dreams and plans. And then to watch somebody that young,
Mm,
their life just kind of fall apart
mm,
through no fault of their own. And then suddenly have all of these people come into your life asking questions and helping make decisions about, where you're going to live now, what you're going to do. And um, they don't know her and she doesn't know them. And so that got me really interested in, you know, how often does this happen with kids? Is there a need for some kind of middle person to come in and help connect all the dots and be a familiar face if that kind of crisis happens? And then is there things we could do further upstream from the problem to keep things like this from happening and support families? So I ran a focus group. I was still in college, and I convinced these professionals to come and talk with me. They were so gracious to tell me about, how things worked and what the needs were. And so their takeaway was, we really need a program that would come alongside families and when their kids are young and stay with them as their kids grow up and just be a support person
right.
and a support system for them. And so that's how Team Up was born. And we serve families who are affected by trauma. So we had an initial set of kids. There were 11 kids in our pilot program. And I am a research nerd. I was going to be a veterinarian. So I spent a lot of time in the UGA libraries. And I realized that all of these kids and families, what they had in common was trauma, that
Mm,
they had been through a lot already, and that the more traumatic experiences they had, the more likely that more were going to occur.
right.
And so that is our way of screening families. So we are looking to help families who have been through at least 4 traumatic events
Wow.
out of a scale of 10 on a list called ACEs. So that stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. That is a list put out by the CDC. They researched it with Kaiser back during the 90s. There's been lots of studies since then. Oprah, a couple of years ago, came out with a book about ACEs. So it is kind of entering the mainstream, but when we first started doing this work, no one knew what I was talking. They were like, okay, I don't know what ACEs is. I've never heard of that. And so we work with families who have experienced that kind of trauma, abuse, neglect, a parent who has died, a caregiver who's incarcerated, maybe a history of drug abuse in the home, domestic violence, those kinds of things. And we commit to work with that family and be there for them from the time their children are in preschool until they graduate from high school. And so most of our families stay with us for 7, 8, 10, 12 years. We have a young lady who's graduating in May, and I held her when she was a baby. I remember when her mother was expecting her, so some of the families we get to have an incredibly long and rich relationship with. So what we do is we provide mentoring for students from pre-K through 12th grade during the school year, twice a week. And we also provide dinner and transportation for those programs. We provide a free summer day camp. And then for our caregivers, we have a family life department who supports them. So trying to help on that side of, how can we help you keep going? Because a lot of these parents, these caregivers, I mean, they're fighting on so many fronts. They may be a single parent, they may be a grandmother or great grandmother raising children. They may be a foster parent. And parenting is hard anytime, but then you throw in trauma and other kinds of barriers. Maybe there's financial needs, maybe there's special needs that their children have that are harder to get service for. And it's just a lot. And so we do our best to be supportive of them as a family through our family life department. And yeah, so that's what we do.
So recognize
We
that you can't help the child without helping the family. I mean, that's
That's right. Yeah,
amazing.
you have to really wrap around the whole family, because the family is where that kid is going to be the majority of the time. Like we yes, we get to be with them a few hours a week, but that's nothing compared to how much they're with their caregivers. And I think a lot of times programs, well, I don't want to say programs, but people in general can be very compassionate towards children and not so much towards adults.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And when you hear caregiver stories that are with us, immediately you start to feel some compassion because they're still here. They're still trying to raise these children. They're still making it. They're incredibly resilient. Um, some of them have special needs themselves, and they're trying to navigate, life as a special needs adult, and also help their children, get all of the things that they need and navigate all the technology and the things. So we really try to love on the folks that are raising kids.
So how many
So
I'm sorry.
about we serve about 150 clients a year. Um, we are usually full and have a waiting list. I think there's about 15 people on our waiting list right now. Our transportation is full. We run 2 to 3 vehicles every time we have programs. We have 2 school buses and a 15-passenger van, because most of our families need transportation. Um, the caregiver is working one of 2 or 3 jobs, or they may be disabled and not able to drive, or they're in a 2-parent home and there's one car, and that car is being passed around between everybody's work schedule.
Right.
And so we provide transportation for just about everything that we do, so that that's not a barrier.
So we talked a little bit before this, and I know definitely you can accept financial donations. I'll be putting your website in the post, and it is teamupmentoring.org. I know you can also use volunteers. Volunteers would go to the same site. What could people volunteer to do? Like, what do you need volunteers to do?
Yeah. So you can volunteer to be a mentor, and that is a big commitment. You are coming once a week to our programs. We have programs 3 weeks out of every month. So there is a week off every month during the school year. You do have to have a fingerprint background check because we are working with students. There's a training that we do for you. None of that's any cost to you, but there is a definite time commitment to get started and then coming once a week to meet with kids. All the curriculum is provided. You're just being a healthy adult, building relationships with kids, doing the activities with them. So we don't need you to prep or bring anything. It's not like, maybe leading a Sunday school class where you'd have to study a lesson in advance or pick up some popsicle sticks or something. We don't ask you to do that. Um, the other big thing we need volunteers for are meals. So we provide a hot meal for everybody at the programs during the school year and breakfast during summer camp. We have a great partnership with Fish to provide our lunch during summer camp. And so we're looking for small groups of people to bring a hot meal. Sometimes people cook the meal themselves. Like we've had people bring chili or spaghetti bake or something like that. Sometimes it's easier for people to pool their money and bring, a tray of chicken tenders from Publix and some chips. And so people can sign up to be a meal volunteer. That's easier. It's a one-time thing. So, there's no commitment past the one time you bring a meal.
Right.
There's no background check required or anything like that. You just come. And we have a person on our staff who coordinates with you about the best date for your group, any questions you have, how many to anticipate serving. And it's great to be able to get a look at the program that way too. You kind of get to be a fly on the wall while things are happening. So those are the two main ways that people can volunteer.
Nice. Okay. So keeping an eye on my timer here if you see me punching something. What what is bringing you joy in your life right now? It can be in your life, it can be outside of this, but what is bringing you joy?
Um, well, there's, there's a lot of things that could be bring me joy. I made a bunch of chocolate chip cookies last night, and that was bringing me joy. But, here at work, I just heard from our team director this morning, Brady. He has some incredible mentors on the teen side of our program, and we have 5 values that we embrace at Team Up. We have them posted. We talk about them. We shout out people for following them, and so. One of his mentors came to him and said, I want to sponsor a Walk the Team Up Way award every month this year for a teenager. And so he came up with a little criteria list. And so there'll be one teenager a month who gets that award for embracing and following Team Up's values. And those are things like curiosity, kindness, bravery, excellence, consistency. And he is going to sponsor $120 for that student to get a nice pair of shoes,
Oh, wow.
whether they want nice tennis shoes or dress shoes or whatever. He's going to sponsor that. Well, another mentor heard about it and was like, I want to get in on that. And so whoever wins that each month, I'm going to throw in some money so that they can get a nice outfit
Wow.
to go with their shoes so they can have a dressy outfit in their wardrobe for events they might need to go to for a sports banquet or club or whatever they need. And I think that so represents what Team Up is about. Like we love these kids. They are from hard places and they are doing amazing things, and we want to recognize that in a variety of ways. And we're all working together. Like this wasn't Brady's idea on our staff. This was a mentor who's just been working with us and watching and seeing what's going on and had an idea. And then before you know it, other people have jumped in on the idea. And so now it's this whole creative way of encouraging kids to have strong values, and recognizing when they do those things. And I also love that all three of them are men. And so we have healthy men pouring back into these young people and affirming them. Um, and so it's just a beautiful story of how Team Up works.
Right.
Um, and so that's really making me happy today.
Well, Anna, I am, wow, you created this when you were still in college. And I feel like I was I'm not going to ask you how long ago that was, just so, you don't feel like your age is showing here. Um, Not that, yeah, anyways, I'll get myself into a bigger hole if I say that. But that it, that's just amazing to me where you started and where you are now. You said 11 families originally, and now you've got 150 kids in the program. So I think we could talk forever. And I hate to have to end this, but we may just have to do a follow-up conversation later and find out more things. I want to hear the some of the stories that I know you have. So thank you so very much for what you do for the community. Um, wow, thank you for that, and thank you for having the conversation with me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for asking me. I'm so happy to share. And yeah, check us out. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. You'll see a lot of cute pictures of kiddos, and soon you'll see some teenagers with some great shoes on.
Yes, we're excited about that. So, all right. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again.
Thank you, Kim.
Bye.
Bye bye.